Answer me this. What happens when belief demands commitment? I've had to think long and hard about this. I say I believe in what I'm building, but here's the truth. It only works if I act. Once I act, well, there's nowhere to hide. Failure in front of everyone you love, everyone who has to watch from afar, everyone who secretly wants you to fail, everyone who doesn't understand why you're doing something that you believe in. When you believe in something, when you trust your gut, when you have a vision, a goal, a target, failure, it's not an option. And that's the same with fatherhood. Welcome back to Answer Me This, part of Fatherhood in Focus from the Modern Fatherhood Club. I'm Aidan O'Driscoll, father of two, speaker and founder of the Modern Fatherhood Club. Look, I started this movement because I believe something has to change. You see, modern fatherhood, it's changed, but our preparation, well, it hasn't. Today, we're expected to be more present, more supportive, more emotionally available, and more involved than ever before. Yet most of us, well, we're expected to just figure it out as we go. We're expected to see what's on the horizon and plan for it, even when we're not clear on what's expected of us or what we need to do to meet the needs of those we love the most. We prepare for exams. We prepare for careers. We prepare for marriage. But the greatest leadership role most men are ever going to have is often the one that we're least prepared for. That's why the Modern Fatherhood Club exists. Our mission is simple: preparing fathers, strengthening families, changing the future. Because every child deserves a prepared father. Not a perfect one, one who's prepared. Everything we create, from this podcast to our free resources, the ultimate new dad toolkit, our programs, and our community, it's all built around one promise: helping you become the father your children need and the man that your family deserves. Now, if you've listened or watched before, you know the score. Every week on Answer Me This, I get to ask you one question. Not because there's a perfect answer, but because the questions you and I avoid are often the ones that shape the fathers we become. It's not just about that though. Every answer has the capacity to change how you think. And how you think, well, that changes who they see and how you show up. So this week, answer me this. What happens when belief demands commitment? As a dad, it's my role to show my kids that nothing, and I mean nothing, can stand in your way. That the people in your corner are the people who look you in the eye. They stand shoulder to shoulder with you and say, "You've got this." They might not fully understand what you're trying to build, but they'll watch you and they'll encourage you and they'll be your sounding board. So this question, it's bigger than what happens when belief demands commitment. The question actually is more simplistic. What and who do our children need to see? What man do they need to learn from and see day in and day out? So look, in 2020, I had this idea. I wanted to give something back. I didn't know what that meant, and frankly, I didn't know where to start. But I had this idea, and that idea, well, it grew into the Modern Fatherhood Club. It grew into this one mission: to become the world's most trusted voice in modern fatherhood and redefine how society prepares, supports, and values us. I had this idea: a future where you and I are recognised as essential contributors to family well-being, where we have access to education, support, and community, all of which we need to thrive. A place where fathers feel that they don't have to navigate fatherhood alone. Through my work, I aim to influence families, workplaces, communities, and future generations by elevating the role of the father and championing the importance of your presence, your influence, your impact, your well-being, and your contribution. The mission is super simple: to help you become more confident, connected, and more resilient at home, at work, and in life. But our mission is not simply to support fathers when they struggle. Our mission is to help fathers prepare, grow, and thrive. Our mission is to stand shoulder to shoulder with fathers as they navigate every challenge, every high and every low. I see a lot of noise. I've ridden the wave of disappointment, frustration, missed opportunities, perhaps even a lack of authority. I've been ignored by peers. Maybe I've not been front and center. But look, that's not what this mission is about. We are preparing fathers, strengthening families, changing the future. And this is where the real work is. Like fatherhood, preparation is key, perseverance and commitment too. These are strengths that need to be on show. Our children need to see us struggling. They need to see the messy middle, the failure, the willingness to get back up and try again. I've done the work, the writing, the planning, the refining, unwinding at night by trying to uncover what's holding me back. And you see, that gives me control. Control feels good. But I think this is my biggest failure to date. And that's what we're talking about this week. Because you can have a vision, you can believe in your mission, but one day, well, belief, it demands commitment. But if we're always in control, then perhaps it's the control that keeps the brakes on. Because as long as I'm preparing, I'm safe. I can still say timing, responsibilities, pressure. The second I push that first sales button, it's all on me. If I never push that button, what am I showing my kids? Let's call it what it is. It's not fear of failure. I can fail. I'm prepared to fail publicly, miss shots, try again. The real fear: no safety net, no wage, cushioning the blow, no excuse left. If I go all in and it doesn't work, that's me. And if it does work, well, it's me too. And that's where it gets uncomfortable, because now I'm stepping out of my own shadow. My boys see a composed version of me. They don't see the graft, the doubt, the internal pressure. They simply see the output. But what if what they need isn't polished output? What if they need to see dad in the arena? What if they need to see dad fail in real life? Miss shots, reset, go again. Because if I want them to take risks, if I want them to back themselves, if I want them to live in uncertain times without shrinking, then they need to see me do the same. But we have this responsibility to keep them safe, a duty to protect and not to put their future at risk. Our children need that. They don't always need the safety net. They need to trust themselves and fall again. But they've also got to pick themselves up. The Modern Fatherhood Club isn't failing. I'm building something bigger than I set out to achieve. That's purpose, a mission, an opportunity to create more resources, space, and opportunities for dads like you and I to connect and get the support that we need. I'm going to fail, and I'm going to fail again. I will test and try and change and adapt, but I believe the mission is right. The execution is sometimes what needs to change. And that's what our children, they've got to learn. You can believe in something. You'll be tested on that journey. And as you try to find the right path, you're going to make mistakes, take wrong turns, and you're going to lose. But you'll do anything to give them what they need. You'll do anything to prove to them that anything is possible. That's the mission. That's what fatherhood is about. It's about grinding without sacrificing what's truly important. Because the lesson they need to see is that dad can make it happen. But at the same time, he's not going to lose sight of the connection he has with his kids. He won't stop, but he'll know when to step back and evaluate before taking that next step. He'll share stories of success, stories of failure, wins and losses, things he's proud of, things that matter. Because seeing something through to conclusion, that's commitment and belief in something that demands your commitment. That's what they need to see. Silence. Closing yourself off and getting tunnel vision might get the job done, but ask yourself, who are they losing in the process? As dads, we have a duty to share our experience. Not when they've grown up, but right now. We need to talk commitment, hard work, perseverance, pride in your effort, in your work, focusing on your strengths, staying focused when there are distractions. We need to teach through action, and we need them to understand that capable doesn't mean steady. Capable means committed. Capable means building from the ground up. Living in uncertainty, not losing sight of the goal, staying true to whatever it is you're hoping to achieve. Teach them to believe in themselves, to be happy in their skin, happy with who they are. Not because it's easy, but because they'd be betraying their potential, betraying their dreams. You see, you're not giving in to the easy. You and I, we're trying to do something unique. We're prepared to keep going even when we're questioning whether it's even worth it to continue. That's the man that I need them to see. Not safe, not cautious, capable. That's what I stand for. That's what this podcast is about. That's why I ask the questions I ask. Because you and I have to explore what makes us who we are. We have to understand what motivates us. We have to respect the men we are, the fathers we are becoming, the husbands and partners we are to the mother of our children. Our experience is what shapes their future. And we have two options. Believe and commit to whatever it is we're focusing on. If we believe and commit and are clear on the impact, then the journey will be easier to navigate. Or we sit back and we let the world shape who they are and they face hardship and challenge. So in the time I've been working on this podcast, writing and investing in the Modern Fatherhood Club, I've learned this: less preparing, more pressing. Less refining, more releasing. Not reckless, not stupid, just trying to be decisive. Because they've got to see me try. They need to see me build. They need to see what it takes to get something you believe in off the ground. They need to understand the importance of belief and how, with clarity of mission or purpose, well, your commitment is steadfast. The biggest challenge, well, it's turning belief into something tangible, something that is leaving a mark, something that creates legacy, something, well, that shapes their future. I don't want them to grow up careful with their potential. I want them to be bold. I want them to attack. I want them to chase their dreams. I want them to live for the things that make them tick. I want them to play to their strengths, challenge the status quo, and learn from every setback. Am I afraid? Yeah, sometimes. Am I fearful that I'm going to mess up and fail? Yeah, of course I am. But isn't that what growth is? Isn't that what they need to see? It's clear to me that boldness starts at home. It starts with me, it ends with me. Alongside Terry, we are responsible for shaping their future. But more importantly, we're responsible for giving them the tools to find their feet and grow in confidence and belief that anything is possible. Your kids don't need your success. They need your commitment. They don't need you perfect. They need you in motion. They need to see you motivated by your future. They need to see you believe in yourself, in your mission. They need to see what it takes to lead and inspire. They must see the man that's prepared to try, willing to push, prepared to back himself. If I want my boys to take risks, if I want them to back themselves, if I want them to live boldly in uncertain times, then they cannot grow up watching me shrink to fit, safety. They need to see dad choose uncertainty, not recklessly, not emotionally, but decisively, because courage at home, well, it creates courage in them. So I'll leave you with this. You don't need more clarity. You need a decision. You don't need more preparation. You just need a line in the sand. And here's the part that stings. Most of us aren't stuck. We're just comfortable enough not to move. Comfortable enough to keep the wage. Comfortable enough to protect the ego. But your kids, they're watching. They're not watching your success. They're watching your courage. They're watching whether you choose safety or whether you choose growth. So answer me this. What happens when belief demands commitment? Will they see the best, the brightest version of you? Or will they see the dimmed light of a man who had potential but wouldn't commit? Not because you were scared, not because you might fail, but because you hadn't connected what really mattered to the end result. And because your belief, it wasn't strong enough to move quietly, decisively, and with commitment. You see, that's the challenge you and I face. Fatherhood is a leadership challenge. We navigate obstacles every day. But sometimes, well, we fail to connect them to the wider vision. But once you do that, then your commitment, well, it's never in question. That's today's conversation. If there's one thing I'd love you to take away, it's this. Your children, they're not going to remember every word you said. They'll remember how you made them feel. They'll remember whether you were present, whether you listened, whether you kept showing up. That's why this work matters. As always, please write it down, dive into the detail, and create something so powerful and unique that you cannot wake up and not move toward it. Remember, you're working to create the version of dad they've got to see. Because if you get it right, they're going to live how you lived, love how you loved, listen how you listened, prioritize how you did, and show up in the lives of those they love just like you. And this is the role of the modern dad. Stability, strength, passion, perseverance, pride, and love. Now, the Modern Fatherhood Club, we are on a mission to prepare fathers, strengthen families, and help change the future. Because every child deserves a father who's ready to lead with love, courage, and intention. If today's episode gave you something to think about, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with another dad. One conversation can change a father. One father, well, he can change a family. If you're ready to go further, visit the Modern Fatherhood Club for free resources. Check out the Ultimate New Dad Toolkit, our programs and practical support, all designed to help you prepare, not just react, to fatherhood. Thank you for investing yourself, in your family, and in your future. Until next time, keep preparing, keep showing up, because the father you become shapes the childhood they remember. I'll see you in the next episode.